Welcome back everyone, this is History with Hilbert here, and today I'm going to be taking a look at Irish politics. Now, if you thought that modern Irish politics was difficult with the northern 6 counties of Ireland belonging to the United Kingdom and the other counties in the south belonging to the independent Republic of Ireland, well, just wait until you have a look at Dark Ages Ireland. There were already people living in Ireland around 400 BC, but it's around this time that a certain group of people comes into Ireland, and they were called the Celts. Now, the Celts is a bit of a misdemeanor, and it's really a linguistic label rather than an ethnic or a cultural label. And the specific group of people who came to Ireland, this Celtic group, were called the Gael, which is where we get today's Gaelic from. The Gael formed several different kingdoms, which were very small, and these were called Tua in Irish. As the centuries went by, several of these Tua formed together in very loose coalitions. In the north you had the Connachta, and in the south the Eochanachta. I'm probably butchering this Irish, I do apologise. Now, these weren't like kingdoms, or even, especially they weren't like nations, they were simply loose coalitions of these various kingdoms, which were themselves loose coalitions of various clans, which were themselves loose coalitions of various families. So you can see that, applying these terms isn't like applying them to a country, say, I don't know, Ireland, or the United Kingdom, or the Netherlands. So you have this important family in the north who are called the ONeill, and the ONeill come from this guy called Niall, and he was called Niall of the Nine Hostages. Now, the ONeill actually means the sons, or more correctly the grandsons of this guy, and it's thought that he had an awful lot of children, possibly even more than 9, and that these were very important for the history of Ireland because they settled large parts of the north of the island. So you had, within the ONeill, you had the northern ONeill and the southern ONeill. And the northern ONeill were essentially the sons of Niall who settled in the north, and the southern ones were the ones who settled more towards the south, in the area just north of Dublin. Now, another important thing for the history and the early politics of Ireland is the coming of Christendom, which was around 400 AD, which was brought over by St. Patrick, probably a Welshman who was captured by Irish slavers in the wake of the Romans leaving Britain, and then he returned back to Ireland after I think he escaped, or he was bought his freedom, and he converted the Irish. Now, when I say converted the Irish, the Christendom in Ireland was a bit of a combination between generic Christendom and paganism. It was very much a slow thing. It wasn't, they woke up one day and they said Jesus, and the next day they said Lug. It wasn't like that at all. It was a very slow transition period. You had a lot of pagan rites and things still going on, as you will see later on, and as I'll make more videos about that in the future. Now, if we skip ahead a few hundred years, you get the sort of generic idea of the kingdoms of Ireland, and these included the 4 divisions of Ulster, Munster, Leinster and Connaught. Now, an interesting fact is that 3 of these end in Tir, and Tir actually comes from the Irish Tir, and Tir in Irish meant land, so the land of the fairies in Irish is Tir Nanog. I just thought that was interesting. Now, when we get to around 800, as I said, although this is the generic picture of what Ireland looked like, in actual fact, it was a lot more complicated. Now, these 4 kingdoms also date back a lot further. They're sort of mythical kingdoms, but we're fairly certain that around this time there were far more and smaller various kingdoms around Ireland. In the years of the 8th century, the first Viking raids start to occur on the coastlines of Ireland. Now, over the next century, the Vikings would have several things to do with the island. They would raid several places and even settle in a few others. It's in the Second Viking Age, however, which was starting around 914 AD, which is when they left their largest impact by founding settlements such as Dublin, Limerick, Waterford, Wexford and Cork. Although these weren't really kingdoms, although technically they were just very small enclaves surrounding a long fort, which was essentially where they put their ships up in a defensive location, and these over the centuries became more advanced with larger essentially they were the first towns in Ireland they would build up so that people could trade with them and things like that. Now with this backdrop, we then need to look at a people called the Dal Gash. And the Dal Gash are a very small Tua, a clan from the Kingdom of Munster, which was very much in the south, and these guys filled a power vacuum that was left when the various Norse factions attacked. Remember, there were far more Norsemen in the south of Ireland than the north. The ONeill were very good at dealing with the Vikings, whereas in the south they were able to settle. And the Dalgash rise as an important player on the Irish scene, and the most famous person of the Dalgash family is Brian Boru. And Brian Boru was the third son of the king of the Dalgash, so it wasn't likely that he was going to rise to the throne, but all of his brothers were killed before him, so he did actually become king of the Dalgash. And it's under Brian Boru he becomes the first real High King of Ireland. The ONeill had been claiming kingship over all of Ireland for a long time, because at Tara, which is where they claimed the kingship, this mystical place that relates back to Irish mythology. However, really the ONeill were only important in the north of Ireland. Brian Boru, however, he defeats Moil Sechnaill, who was the northern king of ONeill, and he becomes the High King of all of Ireland for the first time. Brian Boru is very famous because he fought and died at the Battle of Clontarf in 1014, which is now a suburb of Dublin, defeating a coalition of Moil Morda and the Viking Sigtryggr, which was Sitrick Silkbeard. However, it wasn't really an Irish on Viking thing, as is often portrayed nowadays. It was a more complicated affair. But Brian Boru certainly did change Irish politics forever, leaving his kinsmen the dominant faction in Ireland. And today we get the O'Briens obviously from Brian Boru, and the O'Neills from the ONeill. So you see that this history is still very much important today. Alright, so thank you very much for watching. I just thought I'd make this quick video about a simple guide to Dark Age Irish politics. Now, as you can tell, possibly from the video, I've been having quite a few issues with my recording software and various other things, which has been a real pain in the foot. So, I'm trying to get things sorted, but I'm going to be uploading an update video to sort of explain some of the things that have been going on, and as well as some other things like the banner competition, finally going to get sorted with that, as well as possibly a channel survey and more interesting videos, of course. So thank you very much for watching. I'm History with Hilbert, and don't forget to tune in again next time and check out any other videos. Comment in the comment section below, and don't forget to hit the subscribe button.